And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be living a whole span of our lives, from early childhood all the way to old age. We're going to be sort of putting together our resume, or curriculum vitae as it's known, CV from Grana. It's 2 to 4 players, lasts about 60 minutes, and we're going to be working on some 3 major aspects of our life. We're going to be working on knowledge and gaining all that over the course of the time. We're also going to be looking at relationships and trying to get better at those because we know how hard those are. And we're also going to be working on our health. Hey, who needs to go to the gym? Everyone. I do. So we're going to work on these 3 things. I'll show you how it's played, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, in CV, we are going to be going through our childhood, our early adulthood, middle age, and old age. What we're trying to do is see who can have the best life. So here we have the board set up with a sort of a drafting card mechanic. These cards are dealt to us at the beginning, as well as a life goal card. Everyone gets a life goal card to keep secret, and my objective is to become a hard worker by having the most work cards, the blue CV cards. If I'm the one that has the most, I will get 3 points for every blue work card that I have on my played out my tableau by the end of the game. These childhood cards are typically event cards. These are gray cards with lightning bolts on the top. And I just want to point out to you how amazing the artwork is on this game. It's just a really cute style of artwork. And so basically these are going to be event cards that you can play down at any time to help you get certain things, like help you get stuff with knowledge with the light bulb, or health with the cross. And this might just give me 1 point for the bicycle, and this would be the starting player of the game. Now we're going to have 4 dice to start with that we're rolling, and it's a Yahtzee dice roll mechanic where you can roll and you can re-roll 2 other times. And here are the different symbols that we're rolling for that are on the dice. Health, the cross, knowledge, relationship, money, good luck, and bad luck. If at any time we get to roll 3 good lucks, which is 3 smiley faces, we could basically buy any card that we want from the board without having to pay any cost, which is really cool. But if we get 3 misfortunes, which are the very frown faces there, once they get rolled, they get locked. So if you're rolling and you get a frown face, you have bad luck, and these are stuck. You can't roll them. If you get a 3rd one, you must get rid of one of the cards that you've actually been able to buy earlier in the game. So that's sort of what we'll be doing, is rolling the dice, trying to get these symbols, and we'll see how this works. So at the beginning of the game, we've randomly assigned a card to all these slots. They all come from the early adulthood, and they just sort of get put on here. We also have 2 open life goals. These are the same cards that I got one of. It's sort of the end game goals, and these are open, so anybody can get those. Now let's look at these open life goals a little closely. Again, look at the cool artwork on the cards. The Renaissance Man, if you get 1 of each type of card, and 1 of each of the 5 different types of card, for each set of 1 of each of those, you're going to get 7 points at the end. And then sound mind, body, and soul. And we have knowledge and health. And for every pair of health and knowledge, the person who has the most of those pairs is going to get 2 points for each of those pairs at the end. So those are open goals that everybody's going for. Now we're going to show you the different types of cards that are in the game, but the main ones are health, knowledge, and relationships. And this shows you a scoreboard. So at the end of the game, what's going to happen is for every card you have of that type, for every 1 more that you get, you're going to get more points. So for example, if at the end of the game I had 4 cards that were from health, I'm getting 10 points. But if I have 8 cards that are knowledge, I'm going to get 56 points. But if I only have 1 card of relationship, I'm going to get 1 point. So you get really a lot of points for really specializing in a type or an area of your life. Now let's look at the different types of cards. So the green ones are knowledge, and typically you need knowledge to get them. So this one needs a knowledge and some money to become a magician. And if you can become a magician, anytime you roll a die, there's some cards that tell you what all these logos mean. Here, this is the card, player aid. But essentially, you can change any of the markers on the dice to anything else, any of the relationship, knowledge, or money symbols. Essentially, anything except the smiley faces and the frowny faces, you could change to any one of those other things, which is pretty powerful. So if I were to have rolled, and after my second or third, by my second reroll, if I had at least 1 knowledge, and 1 money, I could buy this card. Now on your turn, you can buy up to 2 cards on your turn, and if I had that, I could get this, and I could use these 2 dice to get something else. Also keep in mind that you have these event cards that you started with, and you can get more during the game, and each of these count as a symbol. So even though I only have 2 dice left, I could use these one-time use cards to use it as a knowledge or a health, and again, the cool artwork of top student, and oh, poor chicken pox. So that's what you're doing. You're rolling your dice, Yahtzee mechanic, you're re-rolling up to twice, and you're trying to get the dice or the cards to have enough stuff to buy these cards. Now here on the used card, these are the yellow cards are possessions. So this one costs three money symbols, and you'll get 3 points at the end of the game. The blue cards are CV or work cards. This one needs 3 relationships because it's a job at Dad's company. And what it gets you is $3 and a bad misfortune. So how do those work? How do these extra things work that you get? Well, when you get this card, you're going to place it down in front of you, and you're going to get these 3 symbols because that's what's on here, and you're also going to get a misfortune as well. So this will get placed in front of me with these tokens, and then next turn when I'm rolling, not only do I have the dice to look at, but I can also use these as if it were a die. So essentially you're combining the dice and the tokens to try to get things, and when you use these, they don't get spent. They're here as long as there's cards here. But what happens is that over time, especially the blue cards, the CV cards, when you get a new job, it goes right on top of it. If I got a new job as a scientist, now this is what I get. So I would have to sort of remove all these and readjust to just having a knowledge and a money, right? So as you change jobs, things will change, and what you can do with those are changing. And that's sort of how you layer these different cards. The orange ones are health, and this one I would need 1 health and 1 money to become do fitness training. And this says always get a relationship card for 1 fewer symbol. So for instance, a purple card, these cards here that are 2 different colors can be either. When you get them, you have to announce right when you get it what they're going to be. They're going to be the purple relationship, or they're going to be the green knowledge. So if I had this card from an earlier turn, this allows me to get any purple card with 1 less. So if I had a die and I had rolled a knowledge but I didn't have the relationship, well, this card, the special ability of this card would allow me to get it. And then I'd be able to get this card too. And of course, never having more than 2 cards per round. Once that person has finished their turn, the cards from there would slide up, and then we would get 2 new cards to fill in here as well. If it's the end of the round, meaning everybody has gone once, the card here would slide out, these would slide down, and we would get another card here. This continues all the way through until we get through all these different decks. Now, at the end of early childhood, at the end of each stage, essentially we check for social help. So if anybody at this point has twice as many cards that they have than anybody else, that person gets to take any 1 card from here. It's sort of a catch-up mechanic. That happens at the end of each of these, or the end of these, each of these sort of rounds when all those cards go out. So once we finish all the early adulthood, we go to middle age, and then we go to old age, and then we'll see what happens towards the end. Well, let's say I already had this card running. I got it from a previous turn, and that essentially gives me one of these health icons here that I can add to my dice. Now let's say here we get the work and travel. Anytime you get one of the 3 major categories, which is relationship, knowledge, and health, when you get this, you can choose to either put it on top or put it in between some other one. So in that case, you get to choose, hey, do I really want this special ability, or am I happy with the one that's there? This special ability might be better because it gives me an extra die, so instead of having 4 dice at the beginning of my next turn, I will have 5. So it's interesting to note that sort of in the early adulthood, you're getting things like a used car. Hey, early adulthood, used car. But as we start going on further, we get into the middle age, you can do things like take a trip around the world, or you can, you can get a yacht. And again, the artwork on these cards are all pretty cool. You could be a freelancer. Look at that guy. You could be a Wikipedia author, which needs 2 knowledge, but you get 2 dice for it. Or you could be maybe a University of the Third Age. And then, different things like if I had gotten this card, any health die can be turned into a knowledge and vice versa. So there's all sorts of cool abilities from each of these cards. Now, after you get through the middle age, then we go to old age, and you can see some cards like it's a sports car. Hey, you're old enough to be able to afford it. It costs a lot of money, but it gives you 6 points. Or we could see a discussion club. Old people sitting around just discussing things. And, if you got this one, a knowledge could be turned into pretty much anything else except a happy face or a sad face. Look at things. Hey, a board game club. Look at the monkey sitting there. Or in some of the other ones there. Ooh, mansion. So you can see how things get a little bit harder to get. It's sort of an engine building thing where towards you get to the end, you need a lot of stuff, but by that time you should probably have a lot of different things and a lot of cards to use. Now this continues until after we've filled out the board, there are less cards left in the old age than how many players there are, and that would end the game immediately. And then we would count up our points. For example, I only have one of these cards, so that's 1 point. I have 2 of these, which is 3 points. And then these are each 8 and 3. And then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this card actually counts as 2. That's the special ability. So 8 points. Now per the table, that's 36 points, which is a ton. And I'm referring to this table on the board that you could see to figure out however many cards, that's how many points I was getting for each of those. And then we look and we see not only your hidden goal, but the open goals. Whoever best achieved those, who got the most of those, get the points on the card, and you add them all up, and the one who has the most points is the winner. Now part of the fun is really going through the life at the end and reading through all the cards and see all the things you did. Like, hey, I was really good at running, so I got a job as an athlete, and I also like to work and travel. And when I was younger, I did buy a used car, and then I was a magician, but then I was doing some first aid training on the side. Then I got my MBA, then I was a memory master, then I was psychotherapy, then I became discussion club, and then I became a professor, and I ended up with a mansion. And it's always fun to sort of go through your life and see how things went. All right, there's CV. Well, the thing I love most about the game is the artwork. Oh man, this is great. I love it. It makes it fun to play. When you look at the card, you see what it says, and you look at the art, it's just like this cartoony, weird, funny style of artwork, and it blends its way really to this game, which is, you know, can be easily be played very casually, but also has some moments where it's very thinky as well. I would even call this like a Euro-style party game, maybe a little more in depth than that, but you know, it's got, I would say it's really a Yahtzee rolling. It's a cross between the game of life, Yahtzee, with an engine building, set collection, and press your luck element. That's pretty much it. I found it quite fun. Rolling the dice, trying to figure out what to get, looking at what your opponent's getting, look what you got. I always love having hidden rolls and hidden agendas and open agendas to try to get towards the end of the game. It gives you some sort of focus. Trying to figure out, you know, which direction you should go. You know, it can be a little bit random. There can be some times where you just totally roll really bad. It's happened to me a few times, and it really does stunt the amount of cards you get. Of course, there's always that social, you know, help that happens at the end of each round, which helps a little bit. So if you don't like a lot of randomness, then you might shy away from this. But other than that, it really is a cool game. It's got more thinking than you'd think by rolling dice and getting these tokens and trying to figure out what you're going to get. Because towards the end of the game, where you have like a lot of cards out, and you know, you have all these different abilities and all these different tokens that you can use towards dice, and you have all these cards, and you're trying to pretty much finish the game and finish your strategy, and you roll these dice, and sometimes you can have like 6 or 7 dice, and you have 7 dice and 5 things to think about, and all these different cards to buy, and you can really lock up. If you play this with someone that has AP, towards the end of the game, they might lock down. They might lock down the whole game. That's my only negative side of this. Especially with 3 or 4, it can take a long time between turns by the time you get your turn again, because there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to calculate. So it's much more thinking than you think it would be, but I found it pretty fun. I actually like it best as a 2-player game because it's so quick, and it's a little more open. With 3 and 4, it's a lot tighter because people are probably going for that same thing, whether it's knowledge, health, you know, or jobs. You know, otherwise you can kind of pick a path, stay to it, try to get all those cards, get all those points, maybe stop your opponent a little bit. But with 4 and 3, there's more chances that people are going to be going for what you're going for, which makes it tighter, a little bit more cutthroat, and it takes longer, especially towards the end. So overall, I would recommend it. It's a fun little game. It's great to pull out. It's quite casual at the beginning, but gets really thinky towards the end. And if it sounds interesting to you, that is CB.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.